E.N.D here. Death Race is the working title for the next upcoming standard set, codenamed Tennis. It will be the third installment in the Dragonstorm arc, which began with Bloomborough, followed by Duskmoor, and will ultimately conclude on Tarkir. We know very little about this set so far, but what we do know is that it will feature a Death Race spanning 3 different planes. 2 of these planes will be returning from previous premiere sets that haven't been revisited since their debut. The third will be an existing plane that has never been the focus of a premiere set before. Mark Rosewater calls it a travelogue set. Death Race takes inspiration from Death Race 2000, Speed Racer, Wacky Races, and obviously the Fast and the Furious. That's all we know so far regarding the set. But what do we expect for Death Race? Here are my 10 predictions for this Fast and Furious set. Intro please. First prediction, where might we go? Kaladesh. Death Race is a set centered around a deadly race spanning 3 planes. We know that 2 of these planes will be returning from previous premiere sets that haven't been revisited since their debut, and Kaladesh seems like the perfect starting point for such a race. Kaladesh is one of the most modern and tech-focused planes we ever visited, meaning crazy, super fast and deadly vehicles. Also, the original Kaladesh block was the one that introduced us the vehicle artifact type, which will almost definitely be big in this particular set. Considering the fairly lengthy amount of time we spent away from this plane for Death Race, I predict that Kaladesh will be the first plane and starting point for this race. Second prediction, where might we go? Amonkhet. As mentioned, Death Race will span 3 planes. 2 of these will be returning from previous premiere set that haven't been revisited since their debut. If the race is likely to start on Kaladesh, then Amonkhet seems like a strong contender for the next plane. Amonkhet is an ideal plane for a Death Race without significant collateral damage. Its vast desert landscape would make an interesting and dangerous race setting. Given the disasters that have wrecked the plane, it could evoke a unique Ancient Egypt meet Mad Max vibe. Therefore, for Death Race, I predict that the contestants will race through the treacherous deserts of Amonkhet. Third prediction, where might we go? Vryn. The third plane in this deadly race is very tricky to predict. It's an existing plane that has never been the focus of a premiere set before, meaning no return to. Several planes have been mentioned before but were never the focus of, like Gobagan, the home plane of Theo, Fiora, the home plane of Dark Faden, Segovia, a plane where everything exists in miniature, etc, etc. However, my choice for the final plane is Vryn. Vryn is the home plane of the beloved planeswalker Jace Beleren. It's a fascinating setting. Its landscape is dominated by massive inhabited mage rings, ancient structure of unknown origin, many of which are in disrepair, perfect for a racetrack. The frequent rainstorms on Vryn would only add to the danger and excitement. Therefore, for Death Race, I predict that the third plane will be Vryn, and I wouldn't be surprised if the finish line for this race is set here. Fourth prediction, Vehicles. Vehicle is an artifact type introduced in Kaladesh, also used in Aether quickly returned in Ixalan and Dominaria, and nowadays every set features a couple of vehicles. Death Race won't just include a couple of vehicles. Vehicles will be the central focus of this set. It will feature more vehicles than any previous set, with extremely powerful ones that every deck will want. These vehicle cards will range from common and uncommon to rare, and there's a good chance we'll see a mythic cycle as well. Therefore, for Death Race, I predict that the set will mainly focus on the vehicle artifact type, as they will be essential for a race spanning 3 planes. After all, to survive a deadly race of this scale, you'll need a powerful, fast and likely armored vehicle. Fifth prediction, Pilots. Since we are talking about vehicles and how this set will focus on this specific artifact type, we cannot overlook the creature type that will be needed. Pilots. After all, someone has to drive, or in our case, crew these vehicles, and that role clearly belongs to pilots. Pilot is a creature class that was introduced in Kaladesh along vehicles. Pilots are proficient at crewing vehicles. Creatures with the type can have various abilities that care about their vehicles. Therefore, for that race, I predict an increase in the pilot-type creatures that will provide advantages when crewing and operating their vehicles. Sixth prediction, drive. In a death race, you must expertly drive your beloved and trusted vehicle. You are tied to it, and if one fails, the other is doomed. Drive could be an exciting new mechanic similar to crew, but with a key difference. Creatures driving a vehicle would be bound to it. If the vehicle is destroyed, the drivers share the same fate. However, driving a vehicle would offer a significant advantage, creating a more powerful bond between the driver and the vehicle. Therefore, for that race, I predict a new mechanic that will bind a pilot to their vehicle. Together, they will be stronger, but they will also share the same fate. Seventh prediction, affinity for vehicle. As we previously discussed, the set has a potential center on the artifact type vehicles. A returning mechanic could be easily affinity for artifact, but in the set we'll see a variant of it, affinity for vehicles. Affinity is a keyword ability that reduces the mana cost of a spell by the number of permanents of a certain type that player controls. It first appeared as Affinity for Artifact back in the first Meridian block, a set that was heavily focused on artifacts. Therefore, for that race, I predict that Affinity for Vehicles will be a variant of the returning Affinity for Artifacts mechanic. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised to see Affinity decks making a comeback in Standard. 8th prediction, Chandra. If this dangerous death race begins on Kaladesh, or if our racers drive through the plane, it's hard to imagine Chandra, a native planeswalker of Kaladesh, not being involved. When Kaladesh was in danger, secretly ruled by Tezzeret, Chandra stormed onto the plane to defend it. With her pyromancy and a bit of help from Liliana's power, she managed to defeat Baral and ultimately overthrow Tezzeret. Therefore, with the potential involvement of Kaladesh in that race, I predict that Chandra will be the featured planeswalker in the set. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if she does take part in the race. 9th prediction, Dareti. While discussing Chandra, who as a native planeswalker of Kaladesh could easily be the planeswalker of the set, there is another planeswalker who fits in the theme of fast destructive vehicles in a death race, Dareti. Dareti, a master artificer of remarkable intellect, talent and ambition, is known for his ability to craft intricate devices from mere scraps, so ingenious that even Erza himself would be left scratching his head. Therefore, for that race, I predict that another potential planeswalker could easily be Dareti. In the end, I'm confident that Dareti could either build the fastest and most dangerous vehicle in the race, or simply be there to collect the scraps from the wrecked cars. 10th and last prediction, Treks. That race will span across 3 planes, as we already discussed in detail, but the vehicles will need treks to race on. Given that we're traversing 3 different planes with varying terrains and environments, it's likely that these treks could serve as the land cycle for the set. Therefore, for that race, I predict that the land cycle will be based on the race tracks. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if we get the remaining 5 lands in the Dustborn clockwise allied color verges. So these are my 10 predictions for that race. Leave me a comment below what are your expectations for this Fast and Furious set. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more and more interesting videos about Magic the Gathering and the collectible world.